win an Academy Award, it doesn't really mean anything now, but it used to. Believe it or not, it actually used to. So he had won the Academy Award. He was being offered all these roles, and it could have been he did the Superman Lives. He was going to do that with Tim Burton. I'm sure you've seen pictures, but that obviously didn't work out. So what happened was Nicolas Cage had done an action movie with Sean Connery called The Rock, with a Michael Bay movie. And The Rock is a solid action movie that holds up to this day. To this very day, The Rock is there. I don't think there's any CGI in the movie The Rock. It is real, actual, practical effects. And you can tell the car chase scenes are real. There is real metal being slammed into each other. People are, obviously, they're not being shot with bullets or anything like that. But it is a practical effect extravaganza. And I would argue, I got to be honest, I would argue that the Rock is a better action movie than Con Air. But it has Nicolas Cage as Stanley Goodspeed. And that might be another episode later down the lane. But that being said, he had done The Rock, and then he had time to choose his next I guess, project. And that project would be Con Air and Face Off. So if you didn't know that Face Off came out a month later than Con Air did. So Con Air, and it's weird, I didn't even plan it to be this way, but Con Air came out June 6th, 1997. So Con Air came out, 26 years ago? Pretty much this weekend, 26 years ago. And so here we are. Hooray. Hooray for Con Air. Hooray for Nicolas Cage. I'll always say hooray for Nicolas Cage, even if it's not the great Nicolas Cage movies that he often does. So Nicolas Cage is paired with John Cusack. You got John Malkovich, Dave Chappelle, Ving Rhames, Steve Buscemi. This is a star-studded cast. Now, they are over the top in many of the scenes, but they're supposed to be over the top because that's the kind of movie this is. This is an action movie that you're going in knowing that you're going to have things blow up. You're going to have dodging bullets. There's going to be it's a testosterone-filled action flick, and it doesn't try to be anything more than it is. There's a scene later in the movie, we'll get to it, where Cameron Poe is walking and he's already, he's well into the fight. He's been fighting the inmates, and he gets shot clipped on the side of the arm. He doesn't even miss a beat. He doesn't. And that's when you know that Nicolas Cage, he's going to kick your butt. With that hair, the wife beater shirt that he has on later in the movie, he does a roundhouse kick. He breaks someone's nose. So Nicolas Cage is a butt kicker in this movie. But he has that, I don't even want to attempt to do his southern drawl. Put the bunny back in the box. Yeah, I can't do it, but I tried. That's all that matters. You try to do it. Everyone stop at what they're doing. Press pause. And then just repeat. Put the bunny back in the box. As horribly as you can. But yeah, we have a star-studded cast. The director, Simon West, isn't too shabby either. He has a great filmography. I don't want to say a great filmography, but he is well-versed in the action genre. As he has Tomb Raider. The very first Tomb Raider, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, with Angelina Jolie. He directed that. The General's Daughter, he directed that. And that's kind of that's that's not really an action film. It's more of a detective thriller with John Travolta and can't think of his name. That's rare, but he's in that as well. And then When a Stranger Calls. Simon West directed When a Stranger Calls. So I don't know if you've watched When a Stranger Calls. It's a remake of a movie, but the remake is good. It's a solid a thriller that takes place inside of this luxurious house that I would actually like to own. And so it's a solid thriller. So Simon West does know his way around action type films. Some fun facts is the budget was $75 million. So when you're watching Con Air, you can see on screen where the money is spent. It's not like some movies that you watch and you're like, what? That cost $100 million, but why? But this movie, you can tell. Money was spent. People did their A game in front of the camera and behind the camera. Because it was exactly, I think, what they were probably going for when they were coming on doing, signed on to actually do the movie. So that's something to look forward to. So $75 million budget. It made $101.1 million in the United States and $224 million worldwide, which would translate to probably around $600 million. So this was a very big financial success. And everyone got a pay grade. I mean, Nicolas Cage was on the verge, I think, for after this, he was able to make $20 million per film. He was then considered a movie star because you go from a working actor to hey, I know that person. I know that person. Hey, I know that face. To an established actor, and then you would get to the movie star level. And there's only a handful of those. And there's seemingly less and less of those as time goes on because there's more ensembles, more films like Fast X or the Marvel movies. Whereas now Fast X does have character arcs and stuff throughout, as does the Marvel movies. But I say that as in, if one person doesn't reappear in one of those movies, it's not going to crash the movie. Whereas, if the movie Castaway was made with any other person other than Tom Hanks, would the movie have even been greenlit, given a go, is what that means, to do in the first place? You have to have an established actor or actress that can do that. That's your, you've got Sandra Bullock, you've got probably Denzel Washington, you may have Timothy Chalamet, whatever his name is, Chalmaine. So there's a few of those. I don't even know if he would fit into that, honestly. Jason Momoa maybe, but if you look a lot of the Rock, but there's a lot of these people that they're in a lot of ensembles now. So it's these big ensembles with 6 or 7 or more names that you've heard of. And Con Air is that. This was like that in the 90s. So it wasn't as common of a thing. And a lot of these side actors were a lot of independent actors, like Steve Buscemi, for example. He had mainly been in independent films. You've got Danny Trejo. He'd mainly been in some independent films. And so that rounded out the cast as well. So let's get into some fun facts. Dave Chappelle, I learned, he told me, if you can believe that he improvised almost every single line of dialogue that he had in the movie, if you can believe that. And that doesn't surprise me. He says a lot of things in the movie that he would say probably in his stand-up act. Not exactly, he's not cracking jokes exactly like that. But when you see his performance, and he's I'm not going to, spoiler alert, if you need that, 26 years later, he doesn't make it to the end of the movie. So, which is fine, he doesn't. That's okay. Now, the body of him for his dead body scene did not look all that real. I will say that. But it's just in there quickly, so, it's okay. It's okay. So we've got John Malkovich. He was unhappy during the production because the script was being rewritten every day. And he said he had no idea how his character was going to turn out. He had no idea. So I can imagine being an actor a little bit myself, that going in, learning the dialogue that you need to learn is difficult enough. So you're going in on set to a $75 million production, and there is dialogue being rewritten every day that you go in. That cannot be an easy thing to deal with at all. On a side note, I had filmed this, it was about a year ago this week. I went to Florida last year and was working on this film called Calber Island, which is set to come out hopefully soon. So I go down there with the actual, my dialogue. I'm helping, I'm the director's assistant. I have a small part, and I'm going to be doing some crew work behind the scenes, gaffer, doing anything you need to be done. So what happens is that I get down there, someone can't make it to the set because of COVID, so I'm asked to do these lines and fill in and do this character. So the character probably has, I don't know, 50 to 60 lines of dialogue. I've learned the one or two lines of dialogue that I was supposed to for this other character. So now I'm going and reading the script, which, I hadn't read. I guess I should have. But reading the script, trying to learn these lines of dialogue the day before the day of the shoot, which is not as easy as it would seem. So that being said, I can imagine John Malkovich's frustration, especially because he's coming from a more serious point of view. Up until this point, I don't think he had really done any commercial action films like this. So this was probably one of his first ones that he did. Now, we came into the show with the song How Do I Live by LeAnn Rimes and Trisha Yearwood. They both had a version. They were both almost identical version. One was released on the pop charts and one was released on the country charts. Trisha Yearwood, she, I think her version made it higher on the charts. But this is a song, one of a few, that was both nominated for both Best Original Song for Oscar and the Worst Original Song as a Razzie. So it was nominated for the best and the worst. My opinion, at the time, I didn't really care for the song all that much. I would often turn it if it came on. I hadn't really listened to the song since the movie. I listened to when I decided Con Air that let me give the song a listen again. And so it's more of a nostalgic song for me, but it's nothing that I cling to. It kind of resonates to, this movie. So whenever I think of or hear How Do I Live, that's kind of what I think about it. So another interesting thing about this film is that during the ending scene, it takes place on the Las Vegas Strip. And on the Las Vegas Strip, they were about to demolish let's see what they were about to demolish here. Sorry about that. I had it here, but I lost my train of thought. They were about to delete. They were about to tear down the Sands Hotel. So when the production found out they were going to tear this down, they were like, let's get in there. Let's see if we can get this because we've got this planned in Vegas. This would be perfect, and it would save us money because we don't have to set up the pyrotechnics and everything. All we have to do is set up multiple cameras, get this on film, get the actors doing what they need to do. Action. Everything demolishes, blows up. We have multiple cameras. We've got it. That is how they did it, and it's real. When the demolition takes place in the movie, the plane crash, everything that blows up or is demolished in the movie was really actually demolished in real life. So that was kind of cool. Like I said earlier, Face Off came out in 1997. So with Face Off, The Rock, and Con Air, many Nicolas Cage fans refer to this as the Holy Trinity of action films. You may have known, you may have not known, but Nicolas Cage traveled to Alabama to work on his accent. So there's a lot of people that said they didn't like his accent, he puts it on too thick. I don't know the answer to that. I've only been to Alabama a couple times. I've enjoyed it, but I didn't really get into any kind of a discussion with anyone there. So it's kind of weird about accents because there's accents all over the country, all over the world. And you can be from the same town, just different parts of the town, and your accent can be completely different than an accent from, if you're possibly Coburn, Wise, Kingsport, Asheville, Tennessee. I could just name a name. Sorry about that. I got distracted. Now, if people do want to send some messages throughout the show, they can do that on Facebook. That's what's happening. So, just thought I would fill you in on that. So let's get back to the plot and the story. As you know, we go through things on the movie. We go through a series of questions that we answer. And plot and story is one of the things that I do like to talk about. This is a fairly original plot. I don't know if there's any other movies where inmates take over a plane. I have no idea about that. But from what I know of movie research, there's not that many. And not that many in this style. Now, the story is basically, and I'd forgotten how quickly the story pretty much sets up that Cameron Poe is, he was in a bar fight outside. Some ruffians tried to rough him up and his girl. He wasn't having it. He wasn't having that. And he accidentally killed one of them. And she says, I thought that person was back in your past, which means that he had a past of being rough. And rough and tumble, which, would make you think, well, that's why he got into the military, to clean his act up, to get himself together. And that's what he did. He does serve time. His lawyer tells him to plead guilty. If he pleads guilty, he'll serve a year at most. And the judge says, listen, you are not subjected to the same punishment as regular folks because you have military training. So therefore, you're going to serve longer time. I always thought that was a little bit of a plot hole because I do remember, even when I watched it the very first time, thinking the lawyer should have known that. And it was always a little odd to me that he didn't know that. But that being said, so Cameron Poe goes in, and over the series of the opening credits, basically, he's in there working out. His wife is pregnant at the beginning of the film, so she's giving birth to the daughter. He's in jail. He's in prison. He's doing the push-ups. He's doing the workout. He's getting letters to and from his little girl, and he's excited about getting out. He's very excited because he's never met his little girl. And this will be the first time that he's met her. because he does not want her to see him inside the cell. And I don't think I would either. I really don't. Because I would be sitting in there crying, to be honest. I mean, someone like me is not made to be behind bars. I'm not going to be able to take it. Maybe. Would I want to, though? No. Would I want to take it with the heathens that Cameron Poe was in there with? No. Cameron Poe, guess what? I bet you didn't know this little bit of information, did you? His cellmate is the same actor who plays Bubba Gump. Well, I don't know if he's not Bubba Gump, but he plays Bubba. And I guess Gump's the fishing boat. Not really one of my favorite movies, Forrest Gump. I've only seen it twice. And I'm fine with that. But the plot and the story, so pretty much Cameron Poe gets put on this convict plane full of these deadly inmates that are being transported. Now, I don't think they would ever put someone like Cameron Poe on this kind of a plane, so you have to, extend disbelief. But still, yet, it works within the movie. You know, if you don't think too hard about some of the logic, it does work, and it makes for a more fun experience if you do it that way, which hopefully you will. So the inmates, one thing leads to another. It happens rather quickly. Dave Chappelle starts things off with he kind of upchucks this little balloon with gasoline in it and a match, and he sets his passenger to his left on fire. And that is kind of how the hilarity ensues. So as it progresses from there, I guess you can imagine Cameron Poe doesn't want to let them know that he does not want anything to do with this. His main interest is getting back to see his wife and his little girl that he's never seen. So throughout the movie, Cameron Poe is trying to mask his intentions and just make it there safely, all the while trying to help his friend Bubba get insulin. Because during the, when Dave Chappelle's character catches the inmate on fire, it knocks over a lot of the medical supplies, and therefore all the insulin that this one cat needs is gone. And that's another reason that Nicolas Cage's character, Cameron Poe, doesn't get off the plane, because he doesn't want to leave a fallen man behind, which falls back into the military training and that train of thought. So he does, what he thinks is the noble and the right thing, so therefore he does it. Now, we've got the characters. This is a cast of characters that are beloved. They're characters that, I don't think there's a weak character in the film as far as what they're trying to achieve at all. You've got Steve Buscemi. He sings, you've got the whole world in his hands with the little girl there. You've got Cyrus the Virus, which is John Malkovich. And then you've got Ving Rhames. I forget some of these names that they have. I should have written them all down. But they each have a little bit of their own personality to their crimes too. So that kind of adds to the deviance and the tough guy persona that these people have, and they're all very tough. They're junkyard dogs, pretty much, crazy junkyard dogs. Except you've got Steve Buscemi, so he's kind of I think he's killed 37 people, and he wore a girl's head as a hat for quite a while. So that was kind of gross, I think. You know what I mean? Cameron Poe, he doesn't really talk a lot in the movie if you really go back and watch and think about it. I would argue that I didn't realize how much time it spent on what's his name? John Cusack, his character. The film probably spends a good 20 to 25 minutes on, the side plot about that. When I was younger, I thought that part could have been taken out a little bit, shortened, and it probably could a little bit. But I don't really think it's anything that is overdone. I think it fits in. The running time on this, I'm always big in watching running time, is an hour and 55 minutes. So, for an action film, it's got a pretty good running time because a lot of the action movies today are well over 2 hours long, which in my opinion is too long. You don't really need a movie that long. And if a movie is going to be that long, it better be a really good movie. Here's a little bit of the intro of the Jailbirds. But there's an eccentric cast of characters. So I think the characters are strong. I think you're going to find one you like, one that you're happy that they get what's coming to them at the end. That's always fun. And I can't say that there's really a weak character. I mean, the guy that is a big jerk, by his name in real life is Cal Meany. You'll know his face. He's one of those guys. He is a real jerk. He's a real dumb butt. He's not really a dumb butt, but he's a jerk. So you'll like to hate him, and he's almost I anyway disliked him more than I disliked Cyrus the Virus, and that's just being honest with you. See, favorite scenes or least favorite scenes of Con Air. Now that's a tough one. I don't really have a least favorite scene in the film. There was a couple scenes that you watch it now and you're like, oh, there's the meme shot. But other than that, it's, I don't know if I really have a favorite scene. There's a few good action scenes in it. Obviously, there's a lot of gun battles, a lot of fist fights, a lot of explosions. And I guess if you had to go just by the spectacle of everything, is that it is probably the ending Carson City scene is what I would probably say. The Carson City scene. So, but yeah, it's great. It's a great scene. I don't really have any, like I said, least favorite scenes. There's a scene where they're singing. He's got the whole world in his hands as the plane is going down, and that's kind of that's not one of my least favorite scenes or anything, but it's kind of a fun scene in a way. Here's a little bit of the theme song. But you can tell just by listening to the score that this is an adrenaline-packed movie. I think it's a good score. That brings us to the score and the music. Now, like I was saying last week, back in the 90s, a lot of movies had those scores that were best-selling scores, best-selling soundtracks, and they had hit songs. And this is one of those. It had the hit song, "How Do I Live? How do I live without you?" And I've often wondered. Sorry there, when I was playing the song, I ran. I had to run to let the next guest in. So that's why I'm out of breath. I ran pretty far in like 10 seconds. Excuse me. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's very noticeable. the score and the music. Without it wouldn't be the same. You guys can come in. Yeah, it's open. We got a guest coming in tonight. Hey guys. But yeah, it is. Have you seen the movie Con Air? Con Air, Nicolas Cage movie. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're talking about right now. Yeah.
Right now,
Yep, we're live right now. You can get this mic there if you want to.
He's just gonna be.
Okay, this one's good for you though, Chandler. If you want that
this
one.
one?
Yep. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, we're just talking a little bit about Con Air tonight.
Is that the New York air right now?
Probably.
God
That's the can't breathe air. That's horrible.
Is that not crazy?
It's crazy.
It reminds you of like a movie, like the End of Times movie.
Silent Hill.
Hopefully it passes.
I hope so. But yeah, so yeah, the music and score of Con Air was pretty good. Let's let Chandler listen to a little bit of it. He's not. Let's go to. We always do certain segments in the show. So this is a segment talking about the score and the music, because if you think about movies, often without that score and music, that adds so much emotion to whatever you're watching on screen.
Yeah.
And just imagine it could be a romance movie, be an action, it could be thriller, horror movie without that music. No, it's fine. So here's a little bit of the Con Air music. I guess that was all of it. But yeah, so yeah, I would say, it's not anything great, but it's nothing bad to really go out. But nobody needs to really seek it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
It works for the movie, but other than that,
Just like dramatic? Is that what it is? It's just basically just like for like B-roll and stuff. I guess.
So let me set up the premise here for Con Air. So Con Air is Nicolas Cage's character, Cameron Poe, accidentally kills, like a hoodlum at a bar.
Yeah.
But he has military training, so he's sentenced to 8 years in prison, as his wife gives birth to their baby while he's in prison.
Yeah.
So he's on a jet plane filled full of inmates, but the inmates take over the plane. All Cameron Poe wants to do, have you seen this? All Cameron Poe wants to do is make it home to his little girl.
Right.
And he's on for one heck of a ride.
I need to watch this.
It's a good movie. It's a good action movie. So we'll wrap up the real talk here, but let me get into the last point here. Would you recommend this movie? Now, since Chandler hasn't watched this, I'm going to recommend this to Chandler. And the reason being is why. If you like action, if you like realistic action, this isn't CGI stuff. Like I was saying earlier, the bomber that's in the sky, did really crash into Las Vegas casino because they were demolishing it. So they went ahead and did it for real. All the kicks, everything, realistic.
That's awesome.
No CGI stuff. There's a lot of gun battles.
What casino did they crash to?
They crashed in the legendary Sands Hotel.
Actually fly to Vegas Monday.
That's cool.
Yeah, fly to Vegas Monday.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I would definitely think people should check it out. If you haven't, you've missed out. So Chandler, you've missed out.
I know, man. But you know what though? That means I get that feel of that first watch.
That first watch.
I get the first watch.
Yes.
Y'all got to go back and watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a repeat for
It's
me.
a repeat.
It's gonna be my first time.
Yeah, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all.
I hope not.
It's an hour and 55 minutes of adrenaline, and it's well worth it. Did you like it? It was a good action movie. Yeah. So we're gonna end the show. We'll be right back in just a moment.